Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about building resilience. So when we're talking about building resilience, what I'm referring to in this instance is building up the resilience to handle rejection. So building up the resilience to put yourself out there, to be confident about who you are even though you're living with a virus. So that's the kind of resilience that I'm referring to. So there's a few things that we can do to build resilience, and a couple of things I want to share with you. And these are things that I choose to use personally myself. One of the things that I do is I try not to take things personally. So for example, when I'm out there, if I pick up in a nightclub or in a pub, if I meet someone and where there's some mutual attraction, and then we're about to go home, and I might say, hey, you know, before we go home, you know, there's something that I want to say to you because I don't want it to be a surprise later on. I'm living with HIV and I want to know, can you deal with that, and can you deal with us using condoms? So that's one thing that I might say. And if, for example, the person then rejects me in that context, then that to me, that rejection isn't taken by me personally. And the reason is because I've only potentially just met that person, so I've known them for maybe 1 or 2 hours. They've also known me in the context of a nightclub, so there's noise blaring. They don't necessarily know who I really am. They may be, you know, a little bit tipsy, as well might I. And so the opportunity to really get to know someone's character and who they really are is very minimal. So at that point, what are they really rejecting when they've only known you potentially for maybe 1 or 2 hours? And what they're really rejecting is the virus itself. And that's why I don't take it personally, because they don't know me personally to be rejecting me personally. So that's one thing that I've certainly used, that someone's rejection of me is not a personal one, especially when I've only just met them. Another frame that I might use to handle and build some resilience is that I use this as a reverse filter. So for example, if someone isn't able to handle the fact that I live with HIV and can't handle using condoms, then that person to me has just saved me a lot of time, because I'm now not going to put in additional energy and effort into someone who still hasn't quite got their head around what it is to live in a world with viral diversity. So that person isn't going to be someone who is worth me investing a lot of time, energy and effort into. So they've just done me a favour by rejecting me so quickly and so early in our interaction. So I frame the rejection sometimes as a reverse filter, because ultimately what that means is that the people that I do eventually have around me are all people that can handle the notion of other people living with viruses and other people, in this instance, living with HIV. And they're the kind of people that I want around me. Another way that I handle rejection and build resilience within myself is that I accept that romance or lust and even love can potentially be a numbers game. And what that means is that, you know, every person you meet isn't going to find you mutually attractive, and every person you meet also isn't necessarily going to be able to handle HIV. So I play the numbers. I play the numbers. I don't let the first rejection, the second, the third, fourth, 10th, 20th rejection get in the way of me continuing and persisting in inviting other people to get to know me and inviting other people to engage with me, and, you know, in all the many colourful ways that they could engage with me in. So I very much choose to play the numbers game and persist, because I know that that 80% of people may reject me. That's okay, as long as I persist sufficiently to meet the other 20% of people who won't reject me. And so that's a really important thing for me to do, is to crash through the rejection to meet those people who are naturally accepting, who are sufficiently educated to be accepting, and who are sufficiently curious and compassionate in nature to be accepting. And they're the people that I want to meet and want to spend time with. A second numbers game that I like to play is the notion that even though I would like everybody in the world to love and accept me as I am, as much as I would love that, I know that not everyone will. And so there is this notion of, well, how many people do you actually need to love and accept you for you to have a very high quality of life? So the notion of how many people do you really need to have, do you really need in your life to have a high quality of life? 1 billion? Clearly not. 1 million? 500,000? 10,000? 5,000? 200? 100? 50? 10? And for me, that's where we start to get to the numbers. That when you get between, 5 to 20 sort of people in your life who are loving and accepting of you, when you start to get into those numbers, it's okay that the other, 6+ billion aren't accepting, because in terms of your quality of life, once you have those accepting people around you, the others don't matter, because at least in my view of life, you can only spend so much time with so many people. And therefore, having between 5 and 20 people, at least for me, is more than sufficient for me to have an extremely high quality of life. And for me, quality of life often means very high quality relationships.